There are a bunch of people online. Okay.
We are live. As it is 6 o'clock, but that doesn't mean you have to start till you're ready.
How many people are we missing?
We're missing 3. I know Patrick is on the way.
Okay,
So, and then we're missing Bill and Jason.
so let's give it just 2 minutes.
So the last couple and some projects they started it. So we made it late.
Got it. That's helpful. Thank you.
Admitted that that's why it is.
I remember that from the last meeting.
I was in the same boat with him too, but I got the memo, so I got the memo.
And
from
that
this
was
morning.
my.
For whatever reason,
Yeah. Last time it was the time and now it's location.
Yeah,
So you're gonna fix all of this.
our company switched to Outlook on our phones now versus the regular mail that you typically get. So I have to look at 2 different calendars to see what's going on. And I've lost half of my contact. I don't have your contact anymore. But like when you text me earlier, I had to go back and see what previous text messages discussions were, but I know who I was talking to.
Maybe just give it one more minute. See if anyone show themselves. I'm gonna move these away from the microphone. I think I put my foot this thing down. I feel like I can't touch the table. Yeah, right. That's what I really consider. All right, I feel like we'll go ahead. Yes.
We have a plan.
We do. Great. Thanks, everybody. It's our April meeting. I'm going to call it to order and take roll. Suzanne is here. Patrick is here. Adam. John.
Here?
Bill Jensen. Jason.
Jason's working on getting online.
Great. Kim is online.
Here.
Great. Greg.
Here.
Terrific. Thanks, everyone. Does anyone have any comments or questions from the minutes of the last meeting? Hearing none, would anyone like to make a motion to approve?
I'll move to approve.
Great. Thanks, Suzanne. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you very much. All in favor of approving the minutes, I will vote aye. Suzanne?
Aye.
Patrick? Adam?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Kim?
Aye.
Greg?
Aye.
Thanks. Great, the minutes are unanimously approved. And Megan, I'll turn it to you for announcements.
Well, this is our, by the way, happy almost Earth Day. So that's exciting. And happy almost Earth Fest. We are going to implement for the first time these time limits that were discussed at the last meeting. And again, that's 5 minutes for the applicant's team to share and present about their project, and 10 minutes for the board to ask questions and discuss. So for a total of 15 minutes, about a buffer time of 5 of getting everything set up and getting it folks online. So we're talking about around 20 minutes per pre-app. And with that said, estimating the other time out, we're thinking that the meeting should end at around 8, which is different from the, I think, 9 o'clock time the last time we had 5 pre-apps. So, and of course, you know, we can see how this goes and then discuss maybe potential changes if need be for future meetings. So I have a little timekeeper here. Also, I'm gonna signal you when we're up. So that's it.
That sounds great. Does anyone have questions about the time limits or any item we need to discuss about the time limits? We're gonna really try to keep things moving. If for some reason there's something critical that we feel like we need to discuss, someone can make a motion to extend discussion, but we're gonna keep that for very limited circumstances.
Great.
Tree cap in B City.
Yes. Tree Citizens Advisory Panel, their last meeting was on April 7th. They discussed Earthfest. Tree Cap will be there at the Town of Apex Electric Department booth. And they are switching roles from the staff liaison, Mark, to Philip Barnes, who is our Powerline Forester for the town. He will be taking over, I believe, as of July 1st of this year. He'll be the new staff liaison. And you may remember, Phil is the one who really spearheaded this new beehive project that we have in the town. So it's very exciting. And then also as part of their annual budget, there's an increase from $75,000 from 2021 to now $100,000 for Plant the Peak for 2022, as it was a very popular program. Welcome, Jason. And so that's an exciting update that will, you know, is in the works for approval. So that is what Tree Cap is up to right now. For Bee City, they discussed the conditions list again for the suggested environmental zoning conditions list. We did not receive any official feedback or recommendations yet. That's going to happen at the next meeting. But the feedback was all positive on the conditions list. The only somewhat negative comment that there is still not some not native and invasive plants listed in the design and development manual, which isn't exactly an environmental advisory board concern. And that's something that staff is going to look at with them. But you know, perhaps they can. We're going to look into it. That's the bottom line. And they will give final recommendations at the next meeting.
Great. Would you like to roll into the
Rolling
updates from
in.
the joint EAB meeting and the special committee meeting?
Absolutely. So we had a joint environmental advisory board meeting, and this was with the town of Morrisville and the town of Cary. So town of Cary organized this. They invited Katie and Suzanne, as well as myself, to join other EAB leaders in those towns to just introduce themselves, say hello, and discuss how the board is made up, what initiatives they've been working on, the structure, the processes, and one of the next steps outlined was that they're going to meet again in 6 months to sort of do the same thing and eventually perhaps find a way to collaborate, but at least keep the line of communication open. So there will be another meeting in 6 months. We also recently had a special committee meeting. This is the second of these meetings. I think a lot of you were there participating. And this was a meeting between the EAB, Tree Cap, and Bee City. Also similar purpose as the joint EAB meeting, whereas it's to keep the line of communication open, talk about similar initiatives and potential collaboration. Anything that you would like to add, Katie or Suzanne, about the joint EAB meeting, or anybody else about the special committee meeting?
I just thought the one with Cary and Morrisville was really enlightening. It was great. The roles of their environmental boards are really different than ours. So it was really interesting to hear what they do and the projects that they work on. And I think they were interested to hear what we do.
I would just like to add from a council perspective, we highly recommend, this type of collaboration regionally. We try to do this with the other councils as well. COVID has impacted that obviously some, but we really value regional collaboration on a variety of things. So I applaud you for doing that.
Super. Does anyone have any questions about any of those items? Let's talk about your absolute favorite topic. In 24 hours, it will be Val and Megan's best day.
Yes. We have 48, so just hold your horses.
Almost.
I'm just kidding. We are really excited for Earth Fest. We've added this to the agenda just to give you all a regroup on anything that you want to plan for or expect for Earth Fest as the Environmental Advisory Board booth. I will say that Kim, she offered a lot of great resources for dark sky, so we'll be printing those out for you all. And our plan is to print out 1 copy each with a QR code. So that way we're not handing out a bunch of pieces of paper, but rather, providing a resource that folks can flip through and look at, but also reach through their phones. Outside of that, you still have giveaways, so we'll be bringing that for you. And I think the only other thing that I have is the signups. So as of now, I know that 2 members are not going to be able to attend that day. So that leaves 7 members. We currently have 2 folks signed up for the setup shift from 10:30 to 11:30. 2 folks signed up for the very first hour, 12 to 1. 1 person for 2 to 3, and 1 person for 4 to 5 for breakdown. So we're missing some key times between 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So I would say we need at least 1 person to sign up for that so that the booth isn't empty. And so if you have not signed up for the booth, or you're willing to commit an extra hour, I think that would be really helpful, because that's one thing that we're asking all vendors to do, is just not leave their booths unattended.
And it's really fun. I actually feel like 1 hour is maybe not enough. So maybe someone who signed up for 1 hour feels like they could lengthen it in one side or the other.
Yeah, so I think the 2 to 3 slot and the breakdown 4 to 5, if there could be an extra person, that'd be great. But the biggest priority is having somebody from 1 to 2 and 3 to 4. Just gonna put that out there.
You got my email.
I got your email.
Megan,
I've got 3 things already going on that day, so I do have 2 to 3, I think, is all I've been.
Okay, and did you sign up on the link?
Genius.
Okay.
I think you also have a volunteer, I think.
2 to 3, I got
2 to 3. Yes. Okay. I will double check that that's you, but either way, yeah, that sounds good. Thank you.
Megan, can move me if you need somebody to cover a spot? And would it be possible for you to email me with what I signed up to do or where you want me?
Yes. As of now,
What I agree.
Yeah.
I do have you for 2 to 3. Suzanne, we
Okay.
have you for setup.
I could probably do 3 to
should
4.
too.
I'm gonna be at an event at 11, but I'll be here probably about 1 or 1:30, but I could do 3 to 4.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
So set up in 2 to 3
1 to 2.
or 1 to, wherever you
Right?
need me.
I think you need her. 1 to 2.
Oh, and we actually, sorry, the breakdown shift was actually Katie, who can no longer be there.
That's true.
So we also need somebody to help break down. Yep, it's a lot to ask. I know. But I think I would say that if folks aren't able to be there the whole time or break down, I think Val and I would be okay with helping with breakdown.
I can break down if you'd rather have, if you want to move me from setup to breakdown. Just
You have
move
2
me
people on
wherever
setup?
you need me. And just let me know where that is.
Great, okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So we really just need a 1 to 2 slot for anybody who's not signed up yet.
I'm already working for the ASA from 12 to 2, but if you want me to, I can move over from 1 to 2 and have somebody else do that.
Okay, do you think ASA has enough support there to be able to switch?
Yeah, I need to check. Give me a second. Let me ask Veronica. She'll know better than I. One moment.
Great, making progress. Progress. I think it is fun. I like doing it.
Well, that would mean we'd have at least one person for every shift, so that's good. With Suzanne as breakdown.
Are we doing anything for a peak day,
For Peak Fest.
Peak Fest?
We
Peak
have
Fest Day.
you signed up. So
You
anyways,
signed up?
yeah, we are, you are.
I think he means 2 weeks later at
Yes.
Peak Fest.
Yes.
Wait,
Sorry, what did I say?
okay, tell us about that, because we don't know about that.
Okay, Peak Fest, like last year, is May 7th, so the first Saturday of May.
And in September.
Yeah, we had it in September because of COVID, right?
But, yeah, I got it.
Yes. So how about I send you all an email with a summary of the time slots and information about Peak Fest?
Perfect.
Sound good? Okay.
That sounds
That way
great.
we can move forward.
And I will make up my commitment on May 7th. I will be there,
out of
double
town
duty.
that week.
All right, terrific. We might be ready to move to Wimberley Road.
Yes. Okay, starting at 6:17, we have Evan Boast joining us. I'm admitting him now. Hello, Evan. Welcome to the Environmental Advisory Board meeting.
Well, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Hi, Evan. I'm Katie Schaff. I'm the chair of the EAB. If you would please just take a couple of minutes to go over your project with us. And I saw your notes, but any suggested zoning conditions that you're considering, that would be helpful. Thank you.
Sure. Yeah, thanks, Katie. Evan Bost here of Bost Custom Homes. We are a high-end custom builder serving the Greater Triangle, and today I come before you as a representative of our clients that own the parcel at 905 Wimberley Road. Their wish is to annex into the town of Cary from the current Wake County jurisdiction that property sits in, and they'd like to tap into city utilities, and thus a rezoning and annexation is what we're pursuing on their behalf. So the plan right now is a single family residence. It's going to be a nice home. They're going to have a pool, circle drive, or something to that effect. Everything's kind of preliminary at this point as far as we don't have like a final landscape plan. We're not quite at that level yet on the design, but we do have the house footprint kind of finalized, and that's reflected on the site plan there. And so, just at a very broad level, I think the area of disturbance on the site is not going to exceed 2 acres really, or, I put 100,000 square feet in there. We can, as part of the erosion control measures, we probably will put tree protection fencing up in the non-disturbed areas. And there's a possibility that the home might meet a energy certification. All of our homes do pretty well on the HERS index, and we do rate all of our projects through the home energy rating system. So really, it's not a big leap for us to hit something like an Eco Select certification. There's just a couple of kind of small framing details that have to be inspected and worked out. So we would potentially, pitch that to the clients. Is like, hey, we could go for an Eco Select certification. Are you interested? there's a little bit of added cost to the homeowner there, so that would ultimately be up to them. But it wouldn't be a big stretch from what we typically do. Impervious surfaces, I put a 35,000 not to exceed number, but I seriously doubt it's going to be even that high. Let's see, what do we have on the plot at this point? So we're showing 19,000. We're basically showing 20,000 square feet of impervious at this time. There is going to be some pool deck that's going to be impervious. That's not currently in that calculation. I'm not sure if this surveyor included the little island that says proposed landscaping in that calculation. I probably should have gotten clarity on that. And the driveway is definitely not designed at this time, so we can cut down that impervious just from where it's at and possibly offset the pool deck. But of course, all of this is going to fall within our land disturbing permit that's going to go through the state. We're going to have to get an NCGO1 permit and adhere to that. So that's pretty much what we're looking at.
One question, Evan, your plan makes clear here that it's a single family home, but there was a fair amount of discussion coming from the town staff about possibly subdividing in the future. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, the clients at some point in the future may want to build a family member's home on the southern end of the property. But at this time, there's no plan for that. We are only pursuing the residential agricultural conditional zoning, which limits one dwelling unit per 5 acres. So the rezoning that we're looking at right now wouldn't allow that. And the clients understand that they would have to seek another rezoning in at a later date if they did want to add another dwelling to the property.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank
Do
you.
other members of the board have questions?
Am I correct in thinking that this property backs onto the American Tobacco Trail?
Yes, it does.
Okay. Y'all thought about some sort of buffer between Tobacco Trail and developing on the property?
We probably would have had a deeper conversation on that if the property was more at grade with the trail, but at the location where the house is being proposed, it's about 20 feet above the tobacco trail. And that grade pretty much holds up all the way to probably what's off of our property, what's on the right of way of the tobacco trail. It drops off pretty substantially. And I think the current thinking is to leave it as natural and kind of just as is. But obviously, there's a possibility in the landscape plan that there will be some evergreens added for additional privacy. But it's just the way the topography lays right now. There's quite a bit of buffer built into the property.
Suzanne?
Is there going to be RCA associated with this zoning?
Sorry, just as staff, let me jump in real quick. The town's Unified Development Ordinance doesn't require resource conservation area unless it's less than 2 units an acre, or greater than 2 units per acre. That can always be proposed as an additional zoning condition. However, RCA is typically something that we see that's held by an HOA or a third-party owner and not the individual property owner. So although we would normally see that if this was, say, 3 or 4 lots, in this case, it's probably not something that staff would recommend as a zoning condition, simply because it becomes unwieldy and difficult to enforce and prevents the potential for future redevelopment in situations. If they did decide to do future redevelopment, they would still have to come back in for a new rezoning.
But there's not inherently any associated with this particular
Not at this
zoning
point.
designation.
Now, they could set up, they could offer a condition that said that they would put a certain amount of acreage into a dedicated RCA situation, but then we run into difficulties enforcing that if it's a one owner kind of situation. When there's an HOA, then there's already kind of a pot of, there are professional people involved and there's kind of a pot of money to go after if an individual resident impacts that. Even if the resident can't afford to fix it and replant it, then the HOA generally can, and then they can assess fines and fees onto that resident. But we don't generally see that on individual single family lots.
Thank you.
Same thing for buffers. That is something that they could set up on their own. They could even record a plat showing that, but it's not something we typically see.
What is the distance currently from the edge of the home or the edge of the pool to the ATT?
The closest dimension we're showing currently is 120 feet to the property line. Assuming that the ATT is another probably 20 feet beyond that, from the property line, probably about 140 feet.
I think there's just a general feeling on the board of protecting the ATT. That's all. But that amount of space sounds good. Are there other questions?
I will add that the homeowners here are big cyclists, and part of their goal with this property was to be near the ATT, and so I think you're in good hands as far as that goes. They see it as a huge asset, and they definitely want to protect it enhance it as much as possible.
But they're not going to make like their own access point, correct?
They probably would. I would.
Yeah, I mean, nothing formal, nothing planned.
So the access points for the American Tobacco Trail, particularly the formal ones, are very closely monitored and regulated. There's one up on Green Level West, and then there's another one that's going to be at the future Wimberley Road Park that's just to the south of this. So it'll still be very, very close by. But it'll probably be far enough away. I hate that sound. So this property here is Army Corps land. If we're looking at the map, this is the property that is in for rezoning. And then this, come right down here, is land that the town owns. So that's where the access point will be. And I think that I said, this is the town park. There is currently a trailhead right here. So it probably wouldn't behoove them any to add anything else.
Right. Yeah. I was going to say, I'm pretty sure there is a parking lot right next to their property, a formal access.
Are there other questions, particularly from anyone online? 8 minutes. Okay. I wouldn't know if anyone's hand were raised, so. Okay. And so currently there are no suggested zoning conditions at all. One in particular. Okay, great. Okay.
We would need a rough estimate of number if that rooftop solar, if that condition were to be proposed in the zoning condition. Staff is
Our
not
solar
able-
expert is
staff
not
able to make a calculation of how much solar is appropriate and leaving that up to something that would come in a building permit. It's not really something that our building inspections department can do either. They can't look at the rooftop and say how much is appropriate for a building of particular size. So a minimum kilowatt hour is something that we would like to see if this is going to be a recommendation.
Bill, I believe you're on with us, and this was your recommendation. Do you have a minimal kilowatt
Yeah.
size?
Typically, I just say 4 kilowatts, which gives them plenty of room to play with the thing. Once they take a look at it, most people run it up to come close to meeting what they expect to use in the home. So I kind of stayed back, being as it's a single dwelling, but and the average, I think, in Wake County is something like 10 kilowatts now, is what houses tend to be. So in the past, when I asked for houses, end up putting up 8 or 10 kilowatts anyhow. It's just to get them into doing it. Is all. Unless somebody else wants to would like to see it recommended as closer to what's normal, which would be more like 8 kilowatts. But
So can I ask a question here? Are these going to be recommended as like to central planning as conditional zoning requirements? Because when I saw the word considerations, I was more thinking like these are things that may be a part of the project, but like I certainly wouldn't want to hold the clients on the hook for a solar array if that's not in their best interest or in their plans. It's currently not in the plan, but it is common for us.
So the board makes recommendations for zoning conditions. And zoning conditions are binding, but the recommendations are reviewed with town staff after the zoning application is submitted. And staff works with you to find language that's enforceable, and also works with you to try to figure out a way to select options that will work for your client, that we can hold them to, but also is something they're willing to commit to. If there's a zoning condition that's recommended by the board that staff feels is not appropriate or perhaps oversteps the legal authority of the town or is unenforceable for whatever reason, then we would recommend against adding that. The conditions or the recommendations are included in the planning staff's town council and planning board staff reports. There's a table that we add that lists each one of them, and then next to it says whether or not it was included. If it was not included, then staff gives a brief explanation of why. And, you know, sometimes as we get further into a rezoning and have more information, we find out that something that the board thought was reasonable and that, you know, we thought was reasonable at the time isn't. So these are recommendations. They are taken seriously by town council, but they are not entirely, they're not 100% always required. Would you agree to that, Councilmember Stallings? I can't speak today, so I apologize. Okay, does that help?
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome.
If there's shading and stuff like, this is Bill, if there's shading or something like that of the rooftop, then it's not going to be required. Or if the design of the roof is such that you can't put it on, then obviously it's not going to happen.
All right, we are past our time. Does any member of the board feel ready to make a motion on this list of suggested zoning conditions?
I move,
Just first say something, please, sorry, from the council perspective. We do take the Environmental Advisory Board recommendations very seriously, though. So, because we do very much value environmental stewardship within the context of responsible development. So just want to say that.
Okay, thank you. In that case, I don't know if the motion to approve this recommendation, if I have any say, but I would suggest removing the Eco Select and the solar array from the list if that's going to become a formal recommendation based on what I'm seeing here.
So there'll be recommendations that follow you, but they are not at this point requirements. Right? But they will follow you through the process, and town council, when they vote on your rezoning, will see what we recommended.
Okay. All right.
John, were you?
yes, I move we adopt these recommendations for this rezoning project.
Thank you, John. Would anyone like to second?
Second.
Thank you very much. All in favor of this list of recommendations, I will vote aye. Suzanne? Aye. Patrick? Adam? John?
Aye.
Bill Jensen?
Aye.
We have Jason?
Aye.
Oh, great. Kim?
Aye.
And Greg?
Aye.
Great, we have everyone. Somehow I missed that. Great, thank you. Those are approved.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. We're all set?
Thank you.
Okay.
Before we go to the next one, I'm just curious as to how on an individual lot like this, for a single family home, and there was a rezoning situation. Some specific items we talked about for one single family home. Yeah, I kind of feel like there's less we could say. I mean, I'm just asking a question.
I think
If it's
the line could vary, right? And reasonable people can disagree on that. And the people who get to really decide are the council, right? But I think the council would like to see what direction members of the Apex community would like to go. And that's what we're doing.
like I said, I'm just curious. It's
I hear you.
one-off,
I hear you.
If it was 10 lots or 2,000 lots, the footprint of that one on a acre site that is. And then, of course, if they go back for a second one, you gotta go back to a rezoning situation again.
Right. That was relevant to me.
Footprint of that disturbance on that acreage is a lot different. But anyway, that's all I had to say. I was just curious.
So as just a point of order and a reference, all of the board's recommendations can be discussed. And if anyone wants to remove a particular recommendation from the list, that can also be a conversation that y'all can have. And then there can be a vote on that or you can vote to disagree with the list provided and just state the reason
Sure.
why. That's perfectly fine too. Just because something is suggested by a particular board member doesn't necessarily mean that it has to make it onto the list of the entire board.
Agreed.
It's the same thing as when planning board makes recommendations to town council or when town council looks at adding particular zoning conditions to a rezoning or approving it as it was submitted by the applicant. Each individual part of it is up for debate. You don't necessarily have to talk about each individual part, and that's typically what y'all are good at, is, you know, coming to a consensus. But if that ever becomes a concern of anybody on board, you can definitely vote to recommend approval. I'm using my own bad language. I worked, you guys have done so good about not using that, and I just stuck it back in your heads.
Approve a recommendation.
Recommendations, thank you. It's been a long week, y'all, but you can definitely have that conversation. And if it ends up needing to, I have definitely seen projects have to have multiple motions to get to a motion where everybody's comfortable with it, or where a majority is comfortable with it. Town council has not recently had that happen, but there have definitely been times in the past where we've had 3 or 4 motions come before the board before
Sure.
one finally passes. So just a small point of order.
Thank you. Megan,
I'll just say I appreciate your comment and hear it. I think from a council perspective, we just want people to think as broadly as possible.
Oh, sure. I mean, absolutely.
And, you know, just plant the seeds for thinking about things. But I do appreciate and understand your comment.
Megan, I think we're ready to go to North Salem.
A couple of familiar faces here. We have Brendy, Ed, and Mark. Right, welcome North Salem team.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, this is Katie Schaff. I'm the chair of the AV. If you would just take a moment, please, to take us through your plan. Take 5 minutes, please, 5 moments to take us through your plan and any zoning conditions that you would like to suggest at this time, and then we will take a few minutes to ask questions.
Sure. My name's Brendy Vega. I have on the line with me Ed Tang with Withers Ravenel, and also Mark Bowles. And we have a presentation. Do you want us to put that up, or would you rather we just speak to our conditions?
As long as it's within 5 minutes, you may use the time as you see fit.
Okay, I think we can use it and do it in 5 minutes. Ed, if you can pull that up.
Okay, hang on.
Okay, so this parcel is located at 2021 North Salem Street. It is adjacent to an existing subdivision. And also across from the railroad tracks, there's a small piece of property that lies between the railroad tracks and North Salem Street. To the east is a vacant parcel, and beyond that, there's some townhomes. This is identified as medium density residential, up to 7 dwelling units per acre on the future land use map, and it's currently zoned residential agriculture. We are requesting a PUD, conditional zoning, and our proposed conditions are to limit this to townhomes. We have a bubble diagram that shows you the access points. We believe we will have one access point onto North Salem Street and one stub street to the east, as well as retaining, see that peninsula to the north as resource conservation area with buffers and stormwater control measures. The applicant, Mr. Bowles with Baker Residential, is offering water quality to install signage near environmentally sensitive areas to reduce pet waste and eliminate fertilizer. Planting and landscaping to increase the biodiversity with native flora, including landscaping that requires less irrigation and chemical use, and increasing the native hardwood tree species planted to 3 or 4. And with waste reduction to install pet waste stations and include solar conduit in the building design. Those are the conditions we're offering, and we did receive your comments. And if you wanted to go through those, or did you want us to address those?
Sure, please address them. Thank you.
Okay, so the first one we have already committed to increasing the pervious surface. I believe there is nothing in the standard specs that has a a detail that does reduce impervious surface. We're happy to look at anything that you have that would be a modification to utilize a green street design. So if there is anything on the books yet, happy to look at that. Adding signage marking the boundary of lots when they're adjacent to wooded or natural RCA. We're happy to do some of that, although townhome lots I don't think are necessarily as subject to enter the RCA. Petway stations we've committed to. The trees greater than 12 inch in diameter. We have not done a tree survey yet, but we will probably have a similar condition once we get that tree survey back. We do have a buffer around the perimeter. It is not 30 feet wide, and we are having seen that request. We're going to take a look at that. We are pre-wiring the homes. I have not heard this condition before about the south-facing roofs. So we'll definitely educate ourselves about that and see what we can do. And then solar PV systems, we will take a look at that. And I think that was the last one on the list that we received. We're definitely willing to look at those further.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Does anyone on the board have questions for Brendy? Does anyone online have questions for Brendy?
This is Bill. When you say you're going to consider solar installations, I'm trying to understand, because we're trying to come up with some sort of a more exact number than that. What do you mean by consider?
We're definitely going to do the solar conduit, and we have not gotten a tree survey back. We don't know what the tree situation is out there yet. And we'll have to review that when it comes back with Baker Residential.
Megan, are you able to put up the full list? Thank you.
Sorry, just one point of information from staff. In speaking with our former Public Works and Transportation Director, we do not currently have any standards in place or plans at this moment for modified curb and gutters for stormwater infiltration and evaporation within the right-of-way. This one is similar to the green streets item that we've talked about in the past. They're very close together. So at least from staff's point of view, we can't make that one. We can't recommend approval of that one because we don't have the capacity to implement or maintain those items.
Right.
We want to in the future, but we just aren't there yet.
Feel comfortable removing that? Yeah. Okay.
You can go ahead.
Okay. I'm getting good. I know who said what. Does anyone, member of the board, feel ready to make a motion on this list of suggested conditions?
Add a suggestion.
Please.
For the non-residential common areas, do on the suggested environmental zoning conditions, add the Dark Sky Association compliance standards for any like common area lights or, signage into the development, stuff like that.
Great.
That would be doable.
Yeah, are you talking about like amenity areas?
Yeah, amenity areas and the sign into the development, if there's gonna be a road sign into the development, yeah.
Okay.
John. Surprise you.
Trying to pass the torch.
Love it. Anyone feel ready to make a motion on this list?
Could I make one suggestion? This is Bill Jensen. I asked for the solar PV on systems, of course. Seems to be my thing. I've changed that to 14 homes and not 19 homes. What I tried to do was find a place where it would be easy for them to do it. There would not be any wood problems, and that happens to be along Salem Street. It's behind the entrance to the townhomes, so I think it would be aesthetically just fine, and we can go from there.
Thank you. John, it's your moment.
If everybody's ready, I'm willing to make a motion to approve.
Great. Thanks, Bill.
Speed this along a bit, huh?
Adam, you ready to second?
Sure, I'll second.
Great. I will vote in favor. Suzanne, Patrick, Adam,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Bill,
Aye.
Jason,
Aye.
Kim, Greg,
Aye.
unanimously approved. Brendy, thank you very much.
All right. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
He's like the official second.
I like it.
Ready for the third?
Sure am.
Patrick. Welcome, Patrick, to the Environmental Advisory Board meeting.
Hello. You guys hear me?
We can. Patrick, this is Katie Schaff. I'm the chair of the EAB. If you would please take us through your project, and you did write a list of suggested conditions. If you would just briefly take us through those in 5 minutes or fewer, we would appreciate it.
Sure. No, I appreciate it. So this Hatcher property, thanks for pulling that up. So this rezoning is actually going to come in as a partial rezoning. We are in the process of doing a Wake County subdivision to divide the parcel into 3 parcels. So ultimately, it'll be the upper 2 parcels that get rezoned, hopefully. But for the submittal in a couple weeks, we're just going to have a partial zoning line. One important aspect of this project is the construction of transit trail north-south. There is another PUD that is going through the review process right now, the Legacy PUD, and that would bring transit trail with basically only one property gap between our project and where their PUD ends. But I do believe that there is a school site proposed on that PUD. So I know that this road connection is an important piece of the puzzle. In order to get the road geometry to work for town standards, we're going to have to do sort of a land swap. We're planning a one-to-one land swap with the property owners to the west. But all that is just a little bit of context for the rezoning. Basically, we are going for, at the moment, we're going for low density, but we plan to put a cap on the density as a zoning condition, somewhere around 1.25 lots per acre. So 1.2, 1.23, or excuse me, 1.2 or 1.3. So, these would be large lots. Clearing wise, lots that big are going to have big homes. So, there's going to be obviously, significant tree clearing on each lot. It has not been determined at this point whether or not this would be a mass rated project. But obviously if it does, there will be the increased RCA requirement. But just to run through the list here of what we did have, what we were willing to offer up front was stormwater design. We are willing to, for our SCMs, go ahead and design to the 25-year storm for post attenuation being less than or equal to pre-attenuation. Let's see. Signage or information brochures will be provided at HOA areas regarding the need to eliminate and reduce fertilizer and pet waste near SCMs. There will likely only be one sort of HOA area at the one stormwater pond, but we can certainly add signage there. We also had number 5 down there is regarding pet waste station. That would also be the likely spot for pet waste station. And keep in mind, our layout is certainly not finalized, but a sketch was submitted with the rezoning application that'll be available with the application. But let's see, moving on down. Developer shall install pollinator-friendly and native flora within the SCM planting areas. We will use warm season sod. So I think that's no Bermuda. Or no Fusky, excuse me. All homes shall include solar conduit in the building design to facilitate future rooftop solar installation. At this point, we don't plan on having any homes constructed with solar up front. I know that was one of the comments that came in. I did talk to my client about that. But for now, we would just like to move forward with providing solar conduit on every home. And then the last one was required outdoor lighting shall utilize full cutoff fixtures that have a maximum color temperature of 3000 K. From what I'm gathering, talking to builders and everything, I think that's fairly standard. So we can certainly consider that one as well. I saw the other comment about adding a greenway trail. I did want to point out that the greenway plan, the published greenway plan for the town of Apex, I think it may have originally had their greenway in this location, but it has since changed with the legacy PUD to the north. And there is now, from looking at their PUD application, they have a greenway connection shown. So that'll just be, 1,000 feet to the north from this subdivision. There will be another connection. I don't think that they want too many different individual connections onto the ATT. So because that greenway plan for the town of Apex was revised, I think we'll stick with just letting the legacy PUD put the connection there. And then Transit Trail is a major collector street, so it will have a 10-foot multi-use path on one side and a 4-foot bike lane, if I'm not mistaken, as well. So there will be plenty of connectivity between this subdivision and the PUD to the north. So I think access to the ATT will not be an issue. Of course, they can also go south to Olive Chapel Road to the main crossing there as well. But I think that's essentially my rundown.
Thank you. That's great. I'm not sure
Yep, that's all I had.
ATT recommendation, but
John, would you be comfortable with removing that?
it was Patrick.
Sorry.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Patrick.
Sure.
Do we have other questions?
I have some things.
Great. Go right ahead.
Okay, so what would the percentage of RCA be for this?
So since it is low density, there's actually no RCA requirement. There will be enough open space built into the project just because there are along the, so to the southeast is U.S. Army Corps of Engineers property. And running along that property line on our side of the property line, there is a town of Apex electric easement, or excuse me, there's electric, there's town water, and there's also town force main. All that is shared within, I think, a 30-foot utility easement. And then there's also a Duke Power easement, 70 feet wide, I believe, that runs north-south. That there's like a 50-foot gap, or actually might be more than that. There's a pretty decent gap between that and the ATT, but obviously the location of the easement kind of cuts off that back corner. So, I mean, there from our initial sketches, we're probably in the 20-25% just open space kind of built into the project. But because of the UDO, because it's low density, there won't be any required RCA unless we do masquerade, in which case I think it's just 2% is the requirement, which that would be, again, easily found in that open space.
Okay.
It would actually be 5% if it's masqueraded for single family. And
Oh.
you can offer to dedicate RCA if you'd like, but you're correct. If it's less than 2 units an acre, it's not required.
Okay. If you do end up requiring it, I would recommend trying to put it sort of at that southeastern corner that goes southwest to northeast, because that is Army Corps land and it is Wildlife Resources Commission game land. And so the commission does have a recommended 150-yard buffer on that, where they recommend that you don't develop it, to maintain it as undeveloped, just to reduce homeowner-hunter interactions and conflicts. That's not a requirement. It is just a recommendation from them.
Okay.
So you could sort of stack any open space against that Army Corps. That might be beneficial. And just another note that this property is just outside their smoke buffer awareness area. So you're somewhat close to areas that are managed with prescribed fire. Obviously, smoke does not stop at an imaginary line on the map. So
Mhm.
may get some of that, but they try and minimize that. So those
Sure,
are
understood. Yeah, I will definitely talk to Mr. Ione about the buffer. I know at one point we had considered something along those lines, but based on how many easements are kind of cutting off some of the good usable land, this sort of our layout now obviously has lots that go up to that 30-foot easement. So I know some of our preliminary conversations about it. For one, it's preserved land to begin with, and then it is essentially divided by those town utilities that I mentioned. So that 30-foot easement is cleared and maintained. So it's already disrupted because of that. So I think one thing that we would certainly be willing to consider to sort of bridge the gap there is outside of that existing 30-foot easement, maybe have a privacy fence or something that is a condition of the PUD rather than leaving it up to the homeowners to build it. But maybe there's a privacy fence that's built along there just to keep folks off of that land. But like I said, we'll talk about it. But that's sort of offhand, sort of my first thought about it.
Well,
Anyway.
fence also would prohibit any kind of animal movement. So it would help the people, but not necessarily help any animals. So I don't know how many hunters you would even really get in this area, because it is sort of boxed in, but it just is something that the Wildlife Commission does have on their maps.
Sure. Okay. Well, I was not aware of that. So, and I wasn't aware of the smoke buffer as well. So that's all interesting.
I would like to suggest an added condition that a minimum of 75% of species native to the eastern U.S. shall be used to meet the landscaping requirements for Section 8.2 of the UDO. You want me to email it?
Say that again slowly, please.
A minimum of 75% of species native to the eastern U.S. shall be used to meet the landscaping requirements for Section 8.2 of the UDO.
Okay. Yeah, we'll discuss that one. That one should be pretty easy to meet. I believe the landscape architect that we use in Apex is she's awesome, but she I think for the most part uses native species primarily. So that I think that's something that we can offer.
Other questions from the board? May we see the full list, Megan?
Suzanne, I also added the if RCA is required.
Thank you.
And can we just make sure on Suzanne's last one, I believe the intention there is that the landscaping be 75% native species, but not using 75% of native
Right.
species?
Yes.
Is that
Like
correct?
of all of the
So
species
we might
they
just
plant.
need to reword a little there.
Yeah.
That would be very challenging.
I was,
Yeah.
I was gonna say. Could have a lot of plants.
Great. Anyone, knowing that we are rewording the final suggested zoning condition, does anyone feel ready to make a motion on this list?
Could I say something to Patrick? This is Bill Jensen.
Hey, Bill.
I know Joey isn't the most interested in doing solar. When I looked at your sketch, there are 12 houses that have the back roof facing away from the street and have the back roof that is facing south, which are ideal. And when I asked for 6 houses, that's just half of that, and it's only about 20% of the development. I would expect that Joey could find a way to make that happen. And I would like to
yeah, I will certainly relay that. And that's obviously, you know, my inexperience as it is just, you know, as far as the orientation of the home and the roof and everything and potential trees or canopies that might get in the way. I'm obviously not, you know, too familiar with all of that. So I will pass that along specifically and see what he says. But thanks for that.
Thank you, Patrick. Appreciate it. I'll make a motion to approve if we want to. I hate to do that all the time, but just speed it along.
I much appreciate it. Thank you. Do we
I
have a
second.
Oh,
I second.
John. I will vote in favor. Suzanne.
Aye.
Patrick. Adam. John.
Aye.
Bill.
Aye.
Jason.
Aye.
Kim. Kim, are you voting in favor, voting against, or abstaining?
Sorry, I said aye. Marcetta caught me.
Okay, thank you. Great.
Aye.
Great, unanimously approved. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Y'all have a good night.
Thanks, Patrick.
All right. See you later.
Totally ready.
Welcome, Pam and Marcos, to the Environmental Advisory Board meeting.
Hello. I have to turn my live stream off. There we go. Now we're rocking and rolling.
Welcome. This is Katie Schaff. I'm the chair. If you would please take us through your project and any suggested zoning conditions you are prepared to offer at this time, that would be great.
Sure. Marcos, I know you're gonna do some talking, but I'll first share if y'all can see iMaps. We'll start with this and then we can go to our sketch. Hold on a second, make sure he didn't email me. Okay, Marcos, are you there? Do you want me to get started? All right, I'll go ahead and get started. So our site is outlined in red. I hope y'all can see this. It's the southern portion of the Cobra Tract PUD that was approved not long ago. So we are proposing it's a congregate living facility, what we consider on our end assisted living. On this portion, it's 5.46 acres. So not the entire Cobertac, just the southern portion, and it's 7501 Jenks Road. So it's at the corner of Jenks and 540. And let me share the sketch. There, can you all see that? My technology has not been working today. So, okay. So this is the preliminary layout that we showed with the staff when we had our pre-submittal meeting. So again, we're a portion of the Cobertac PUD, which is up here. I think the subdivision is currently in review right now. So we are lining up our entrance with the entrance across the street that they're doing for their project. So, and Marcos, correct me if I'm wrong, but this is slated to be a one-story building with 58 units. We've got stormwater ponds, we've got required buffers along the edge. Some of this stuff was taken directly from the PUD, and we're just applying them to our project as applicable. And oh, Marcos Sayura. Okay, so I guess with that, Marcos, I'm going to hand it over to you so you can talk a little bit more about Carillon as a use and about some of the things we kind of discussed with the EAB zoning conditions.
Sure, thanks. Sorry about that. My Teams was lagging for some reason.
No, that's okay. It's been the day. Go ahead.
So we're Carillon Assisted Living, owner operator of assisted living communities based in Raleigh, North Carolina. We specialize in licensed assisted living facilities and have been, we have built about 23 communities over the past 25 years. In 2020, we launched a new brand called Calyx Senior Living, and thus the name of the proposed project. And since then, we have an operating Calyx facility in North Durham, and we are currently building one in Fuquay, Varina. Each of our prototypes changes a little bit, so Durham's a bit different than Fuquay, and our proposed Apex one that you see on the screen is going to be slightly modified from the Fuquay project we're currently building. So that said, we're in a preliminary design phase all throughout architectural, but also our site design. So in response to the EAB zoning conditions, I'll just briefly go over what we had replied and then address the recommendation that we received this morning. In terms of stormwater and water conservation, I think at this point, as noted, we don't have an engineered site yet. We're not sure how or if we could address any of these suggestions at this point. In terms of planting and landscaping, based on our track record and our previous landscape packages, we feel it would definitely be achievable to plant native flora. Our facility has 3 outdoor courtyards, some of which include community gardens, and also it'd be easy for us to provide native pollinator flora. So, if you were to go to our Durham facility, you'd see that our landscaping is quite extensive compared to other assisted living facilities. In terms of sustainable buildings, we have no intent of pursuing any certifications. Waste reduction, we did not think it was applicable. Our use is for seniors, average age of 80. They typically stay within the building and are on the premises. Clean energy, we suggested we would install what is required per the UDO. And in terms of lighting efficiency, we install timers on all of our projects for site lighting. And this morning we received the recommendation to, install the smallest of the following: 100 kilowatt system, a system that fits the space available on the rooftop, and a system that will generate 90% of the yearly consumption of the building. Our concern with that is is really its costs, and we don't really fully understand what that would mean for us as the operator and the project cost. I'm not a solar expert, but I think that looking at our historical energy consumption of similar sized buildings, we'd be projecting almost 400,000 kilowatt hours per year. And I think a system size to that it would be quite cost prohibitive for us. But I do think that the charging stations per the UDO requirements and a solar conduit, so that maybe at some point in the future, solar panels could be supplied at some point. I think that's a reasonable request.
I do want to add one thing that I meant to say earlier regarding RCA. For the Cobra tract, the required RCA was taken care of on the north side of the site. So I noticed in the last case that you all were talking about, RCA came up, and I just wanted to note that the reason we're not showing it on our plan is because it's already been accounted for on the other part of the Cobra tract PUD.
Okay, thank you. We have questions from the members of the board?
This is Bill Jensen. Marcos, I made the request for the solar PV installations, and I set it up as a minimum of one of those three. So you've got a wide range of opportunities, and if you take the time to look at the rate of return on one of these systems with the tax credits, I put that information in. Excuse me, I put that information into my request, and it didn't make it onto this, and I understand. But if you look at the tax credits available in terms of depreciation and everything, these systems certainly pay for themselves and make running the building less expensive. And
I agree with you 100%. Our hurdle is we have investors, and we need to request the investment is comes at a cost, and
but it pays itself off better than the building is the thing. And if you look at other companies in Apex, Target is one. They have well over a 500 kilowatt system on their building, and they put them on a lot of their buildings around Wake County. So they are definitely cost effective. And I want to leave that in there, but it'll give you an opportunity to talk to your investors and take a look at the system. Talk with a installer. They will give you what the paybacks are, and that's all free. Talk to 2 or 3 of them. They'll tell you what your rate of return is, and then you can talk to your investors. It's a very simple, quick take a look at look at the thing. Okay, thank you. I won't take any more time unless you have questions, Marcos.
No, thank you. We will definitely look into it and figure out what the economics of it looks like.
Okay.
I would like to suggest that we add that same condition about a minimum 75% of the
Using native species.
native to the eastern US. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't want that to really supersede one of the other bullet points that's above, because that one does focus, yeah, exactly, on pollinators.
I'm looking at you.
This is Greg. I'd like to add the including of the International Dark Sky Association compliance standards. We have the timers on the lighting, but I think there's a project could benefit from more thoughtful approach to the lighting.
I was waiting. Wait.
You really passed the baton.
Shelley, could you put up the aerial photo again? Would that be possible? Is this parcel all treed, canopied?
Here, I'll share it again. It's not, hold on one second. Can y'all see that IMAP?
Yeah, okay.
Okay,
All right.
perfect. Yeah, so there's some trees kind of in the middle of the site, but it's not fully wooded.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Welcome.
I move we adopt these recommendations for this project.
Thank you, John. We have a second?
I'll second it.
Great, thank you so much. I will vote in favor. Suzanne?
Aye.
Patrick?
Aye.
Adam?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Bill? Bill, would you like to register a vote for, against, or abstaining? Lost Bill. Jason?
Aye.
Kim?
Aye.
Greg?
Aye.
This is Bill. I finally got my mute off.
Thank you so much. Unanimously approved. Thank you.
All right, thanks for your time tonight. Have a good night.
You as well.
Did map out the times here, and we're a little bit early actually for this final one.
You underestimated us.
We do have the familiar face Jeff Roach. But I think his colleagues might not quite be logged on yet, but I have faith Jeff will be represented. So we're ready.
If they're ready, we're ready. And they actually submitted a good list of conditions, so they may not need all of
Welcome,
them.
Jeff. I know we're a little early. Welcome to the Environmental Advisory Board meeting.
Hey, guys. Good evening. How is everybody?
Well, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing well. Just so you guys know that I'm actually here. I'll say hello.
We did see you have a list of suggested zoning conditions already, but if you would briefly take us through your project, please, and then your list of suggested conditions, that would be great.
Absolutely. So you guys know where this is. It's west of New Hill Olive Chapel Road, just on the side of New Hill before you get to Jordan Point. There are 2 parcels included. That's one of them, the kind of Oklahoma or whatever you want to call it. And then the other one is on the just south of that. And staff is moving around there. That's the Horton parcel. And then the piece in the northwest corner is the Wellens parcel. Kind of a funny shaped piece. It's kind of hard to see, but there's actually a finger that goes all the way out to New Hill, right, that goes out to New Hill Olive Chapel Road. Total assemblage is about 61, just over 61 acres. The proposal is for about 135 homes, but we are focusing right now on the southern parcel, just the about 40 acres that is the Wellens, that is the Horton parcel that is highlighted right there. That's the focus for phase 1. There is an old historic house that's on the property and some historic barns that are actually we're working with Capital Area Preservation to relocate those to the southwest on the other side of Old US 1. And if staff pans down just a little bit to the southwest, you can see the other side of Old US 1, where there's that residual little triangle there. So we're working with Capital Area Preservation and the State Historic Preservation Office to possibly relocate the historic house to that parcel there. And kind of get out of the way, and that's got a lot of support rolling with CAP as well. So we feel good about that. We are focused on, like I said, the bottom 40 acres or so. There's about 90, call it 100 units on the southern piece of the property. The northern piece of the property will most likely be a phase 2 or a future development section. But we need both of them to get to the gravity sewer that is in this picture that staff just pulled up. Yeah, kind of a concept, and this is a pretty early concept, so take it with a grain of salt. Belterra Phase 1, which is shown here on the west side, is an existing development that's under construction now, and it's set. It wouldn't surprise me if it's already sold out and they haven't even built all the homes yet. The same builder that did Belterra Phase 1 is doing Utley Farms, which is the name of this project. And the goal is to connect the two at some point. But there are some environmental features through there that is going to make that connection really hard today. So we're going to focus on the south, the side up against Old US 1 first. What I call here on this sketch is Belterra Phase 3 will actually be the first phase of Utley Farms. All right.
Yes, please.
Sure.
Sorry, we couldn't fit it on a sheet vertically or up and down north south, so we had to rotate it to get it to show. So while you guys are moving that around, I will pull up the application that I sent into staff, and we did highlight. I like doing this. I like talking to our owner ahead of time to try to get some of the basic conditions, and we've highlighted a couple, and I'm just going to run through them real quick. 25-year stormwater control over and above, what is required by the ordinance, condition which allows for which restricts clearing inside the state riparian buffers. Environmentally sensitive areas will have signs to reduce pet waste, use of fertilization. Flipping to the second page, the planting design for efficiency, including shade trees on the south and evergreens on the north as a windbreak, pollinator-friendly flora. We're going to use the Apex Design Manual for selection of native species. We've got some signage around landscaping areas to limit the chemical use, including the use of warm season drought resistant grasses. Native hardwood species we've increased to 3. Signage of marking for the resource conservation area is pretty straightforward. This builder does do Energy Star. We're not applying for it. They do it anyway. It's a national standard for these guys. So there will be some, but they don't apply for any sustainable building certifications. It's just simply built into their design package. Installation of pet waste stations, solar conduit is a basic. Mr. Jensen, we do that on every project. We've talked about that before. And then, of course, the lighting standards. This is a single family residential development. So lighting will, of course, come from the town of Apex, but we do have these conditions in here for reduction of blue light and then the lighting color temperature of 3000 K for all outside installations. So that's a quick rundown of the conditions that we've already agreed, that we've already proffered to the EAB, and we'll continue with the zoning. So with that, I am schedule-wise, we're planning on submitting the rezoning on May 2nd. And with that, I will turn it back over to staff and the board.
Thank you. Do we have questions from members of the board? Go ahead.
So is this another one where no RCA is required?
No, this one's going to be above the 2 units an acre, so RCA will be required.
Okay.
And we've got some significant streams going through the middle of the site. We've got 2 ponds on the site that are structurally not sound. They've got huge trees growing in them. So they're not, we can't save those because it becomes a liability issue for the HOA when it takes over in the future. But there are 2 creeks that run, you can see them north-south right through the project. So between those creeks and streams, protection with RCA, along with, if you continue actually farther to the north on the other parcel, if staff can pan north just a little bit, you can see the linear piece there is eat up with stream buffers. There are quite a few of them. So we will do the 30% resource conservation area. And if there is mass grading, which is what we expect, there'll be the 5% additional. So a 35% resource conservation area requirement.
Okay, and so that stream that's the more eastern of them, is that an actual stream?
Yes, both of them are.
Okay, and so so I just want to make sure I'm understanding your sketch site plan, the preliminary one that had units over top of it.
Correct. It wasn't confirmed. We've changed, this layout's old. We have changed the layout now that we've got soil and environmental consultants, SNEC has done an evaluation. This was our very first sketch that was done with our staff pre-app before we even made a request for EAB. So yeah, we've got a number of different sketches and we've picked up the environmental features that we know are on site. A couple pockets of wetlands and then the stream buffers that you see, they're pretty close to what we show on this plan.
Okay, and so you're not going to be crossing the stream this many times, streams this many roads?
No, we're not wiping it out. We, you know, every national builder, nobody wants to go for an individual permit, which takes 9 to 12 months. We don't want to go through it. We want to minimize our crossings of the environmental features. So yeah, we're not going to wipe that stream out to build lots. We're going to minimize our crossings as best we can. And, you know, my catchphrase is minimization and avoidance.
Okay.
And that's what we've done. This sketch was done without the benefit of the report from the environmental engineer or consultant.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions? Megan, would you pull up the full list? Thank you.
Make it a little bigger, please.
It's not just.
Megan's young. You can probably read this.
Thank you. Ooh. All
right.
Could I say something while everybody's looking at this thing? This is Bill.
Please.
When I looked at this, I was looking at the wrong part. I was looking at Belterra Phase 1 when I said 15 lots, So that really needs to be changed dramatically. I realized last night that we're looking at a different part. It was confusing at first, to me anyhow. So,
and Mr. Jensen, to clear that up as well, we got rid of the Belterra name because of that confusion that we thought it was going to cause.
okay.
That's why we renamed it to Utley Farms. And Shelley sent me an email a couple days saying, "What is Utley Farms?"
You got to pronounce that very carefully. Yeah, did my suggestion come in, by the way, that I gave late last night, on solar? I guess you have to look at the bottom.
Bill, I passed along your email. I think Valeria sent it to me. I passed along your email to the owner, and I think the only real question was about the number of units, if they're going to do solar on the property. Like the previous presentation, they've got to take this to their committee as well. But they are this builder is actually building in Belterra 1. So there is the option, and they have the precedent of doing solar. But the numbers, I can't commit to how many or, you know, if they're going to do it right now, but we'll know before we get to council. We'll have a condition drawn up.
Okay. On this little part, I was looking at it, Jeff, and you've kind of reduced a little bit from what I was looking at just earlier today. I would say 20 homes is what I would be looking for. I think that.
But I think that's over and above. We did Belterra Phase 1. There are 10 lots. There is a total of 170 lots on Belterra Phase 1, and there were 10 done. So I think if there's something in the range of 5 to 8, I think would be reasonable for the builder to listen to. But Bill, I need to talk to those guys and have them talk to their committee about what is reasonable. I don't know how much interest they're getting. I think they've only had 1 or 2 that have actually been buyer requested installation of solar. So this is a future discussion for you and I. We've had this dozens of times about the
Yes, we
benefits of solar, and we know it. But when somebody goes to buy a home, you can't convince them to put a $25,000 solar system in if they're just barely getting into the house anyway. So I'll bring it to KB, and we'll have that discussion, and we'll have we'll condition whatever we can prior to getting to council.
Okay, well, I'd like to say on 20 homes on this, just as a discussion point though, Jeff.
From a discussion, that's fine, Bill. I can't commit to it tonight, but I know what your goal is.
There's a builder up on I think it's Holt Road that's, I can't remember the name of it, but I asked for very little, and they've gone way beyond it already. They've kind of embraced it and are selling the program.
You're talking about the Courtyards on Holt project, the retired.
What is the builder for that?
Epcon.
Epcon, yes.
So that's a whole different discussion, Bill, because that's a senior community, and these are, I think they just sold a 2,600 or 2,700 square foot senior age restricted home, and it went for like $780,000. So, I mean, these people are retiring and buying these forever home or end of end late stage homes, and they're putting every penny into it. So.
Okay, well, let's leave the 20 homes, and Jeff, you and I can on a sidebar. I'll stop by and we can discuss it if you'd like.
Only if you bring the banana nut bread.
Oh my God.
I'm just saying.
I think you still have my pan, don't you, from before?
I do.
Okay. In that case, I will get some extra bananas, and I will make some banana nut bread and try to buy your time.
Fair enough.
So we'll keep 20 homes in the list. Does anyone feel ready to make a motion?
I think the first and the third recommendation are the same, or close enough to be the same.
Yeah, they are. And it's been agreed.
Yes, that is.
And I would like to add on the, down near the bottom on the IDA compliance, that the outdoor lighting be shielded, that it focused lighting to the ground.
Yeah, Apex does the installation, so we're fine putting that on Rodney Smith to make sure his lighting is compliant.
So Jeff, this wouldn't actually be street lighting for a subdivision. This standard would actually approve to things like the lighting on your monument signage for any of your amenity center areas, that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's fine, Shelley. That's fine.
Megan, there's a third solar conduit in building design.
Man, you guys really want that solar conduit.
It's probably my fault because I went through this thing twice, not realizing. It's what happens when you get old. Thank God they had that facility for old people earlier tonight. I'm ready.
Does anyone feel ready to make a motion on this list of suggested conditions?
I like the motion. Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Bill, if you want to make the recommendation.
No, I've made too many motions. Please do it.
I move we recommend these, we approve these recommendations.
Thank you, John.
I'll second.
Thank you, Suzanne. I will vote in favor. Suzanne?
Aye.
Patrick? Adam?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Bill?
Aye.
Jason?
Aye.
Kim? Kim, are you still there?
Yes, sorry, aye.
Thank you. Greg?
Aye.
Great, unanimously approved. Thank you very much.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great night.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff.
Good work, everybody. Good job. We far exceeded Megan's expectations.
Well.
Does anyone have any items they would like to put on open discussion or put on a future meeting's agenda?
I just have two quick things. I was in a DOT Clean Transportation Plan webinar. That was a public meeting thing. And they did mention that they are talking to the building code folks because they really want to increase the number of EVs on the road. So DOT is was talking and working with them. So hopefully, eventually, there'll be some movement on that front.
Well, the National Building Code Association is reviewing the building code now, and they have, as part of their proposal, to add that to the building code. But it won't come out for another couple of years, I don't think. And then I think it would be adopted by the state, but I think that's how it works. So hopefully, if it stays in as that recommendation, we won't have to deal with this anymore.
Yeah. DOT's trying to help as much as they can.
Well, if they could probably go ahead and push the NC building code to do it.
The other thing, real quick, just because I was on a webinar about this today, it's turtle season. So if you all see turtles crossing the road and you want to help them, do not put yourself in harm's way to do so. But if you do want to help, and it's not a snapping turtle, just carry it to the way it's going off the road. And if you see an injured turtle, the NC State Veterinary School has a turtle rescue team. If you Google it, the best thing to do is call, leave a message. They'll call you back. They have people there 7 days a week.
Thank you.
I build nest boxes for birds. They're not to code, but if anybody wants one, just email me. I got a bunch of them.
I actually would love one, Bill.
Who's that?
Katie,
Oh, okay, Katie.
maybe you
I'll
could
make
bring
sure.
it to Peak Fest?
Yeah, I probably will. I'll tell you, I'm not at.
We'll figure it out.
But I will do it. I will get it there. I build funky ones with big smiles and eyeballs, or standard ones?
I want a really creative one like you brought to Peak Fest last year.
Okay, we'll do that.
Thank you.
And I got confirmation that I can take the 1 to 2 slot on Earthfest.
Thank you.
Mhm.
So proud. The teamwork. All right, Adam, it's you. You're gonna first something now. You ready? You're gonna make a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion, we adjourn.
Great. John?
I'll second.
I will vote in favor. Suzanne?
Aye.
Patrick? Adam?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Bill?
Aye.
Jason?
Aye.
Kim? Greg?
Aye.
Thank you very much, everybody.